Hey there, this is Grand Abbott out in beautiful Musgrave Harbour, Newfoundland. If you get a chance, pop out this summer and enjoy our Florida-esque sandy beaches and at times similar weather. I'm a municipal councillor who, through collusion, using vaccination policies and other invented targeted policies, was forced out of office, resulting in incurring a $15,000 legal bill and being left holding an $8,000 remaining debt to be paid to my lawyer, even after winning. There's so many moving parts, so many different dimensions for this story. It's impossible to write something short and concise without assistance, so you get these long videos. And the same goes for answering people on the internet. If nothing's very specific and you can't ask me specific questions and you're looking for specific answers, I'm never going to appease you unless the discussion is going to be had. Making general claims without specifics and then being aggressive against me is not proving anything except for that you're aggressive, and it's not winning any arguments that way. If you really are a good person looking for answers, then you'd be willing to ask and willing to hear. Expecting me to change to be like you without examples or reasoning, or without you understanding my side of the story, is unreasonable, and it's unreasonable with you. If you really had a problem with me, then you could be able to call it out precisely, or you're just jumping on the bandwagon and hating for no good reason. If that's the case, then I don't really care what you think because you have no substance to offer. If your feelings are hurt, but you don't know why, then you're just lashing out at me. That's the thing with the internet. I'm not here to entertain you. I don't have writers. I'm not a personality with a thing to say. I'm just protecting myself and my family from damage and standing up for my rights using logic and ethics. I'm sure any good person out there would agree that it's the right thing to do and it's the right way to do things. If you don't believe that that's the right way to do things, then I'm going to object to you doing things that way unless you can show me the errors of my ways. It takes a lot of effort to respond to each and every comment. Last year on Facebook, I ended up getting banned from posting after taking my time to give everybody a response. If only that effort was put into growing the community as opposed to defending myself from the 1% of the community who either want to fight or don't understand enough to ask questions and just like to make assumptions. Because after all this drama, there must be something that I did and something that I've done to deserve this. Something, anything, maybe, I don't know. There's got to be a reason why there'd be such an outcry against me. No one has been able to name it, and what has been given a name has been proved to be incorrect by the professionals who've investigated or ruled on the situation. I am a challenged individual with a childlike but intuitive and challenged mind compared to a lot of people, doing the best that I can with what's been given to me with my coping mechanisms. I do a very good job in establishing baselines and expectations aligned with ethics, logics, legislation, and agreed upon rules. Given my sales and customer service background, I'm very exacting in what my expectations are and what my intentions are. And I'm able to apply the ethics, logic, and legislation and the agreed upon rules to help keep them all aligned and help find fault in them to improve the process. It's my expertise to offer this level of support and engagement to my employer and those I collaborate with. It's my skill. It's my contribution. But I was chastised in the first or second meeting and had subsequent union grievance put against me for picking up a garbage bucket out of saltwater pond and putting it out of the wind. This is not the type of collaboration or cooperation that you'd expect from a productive and well-adjusted group of people. I know that it would be the behavior that you'd expect from a positive person. This is definitely a behavior or way to be that needs correction if it's in offense to what we just spoke about. My thoughts are complex. My sentences run on, and they go on different levels than most people would expect. This frustrates people, and it would lead to many hours worth of video. If you want to have a conversation with me, let me know, and we can have it either one-on-one in my house, in a public forum, online, whatever. It doesn't matter to me. I can stand behind what I need to say and what I think and be open to what you have to say and what you think. But nothing's really been discussed up to this point. I do what I call soapboxing. That's when I talk fresh from my head on a subject that I'm expert on. I can be fluid in my language because it's essentially a song, so I can't be interrupted or I'll lose my place. For those who are intolerant or neurodivergent people, that's a frustrating experience. I may sound quite capable of speaking and expressing myself, but there's a lot lost due to the lack of choice of words on the fly and my desire to get through the exchange efficiently and quickly while not going back and editing later to be more exacting to express myself. I just don't have the time. I have a young family of 3 kids. Just writing this has taken many, many, many hours from my children and other public services. And the video itself is going to take a similar time as post-production. I can go on for hours on many different topics and support the things I think and support the things I have to say. But it's difficult to avoid a rant while attending to a moving target of concerns that no one can actually put a name on and put on the table to be discussed. If you want to have a discussion or have me speak on certain topics, please call it out and I'll address it. I need help to get ideas out of my head in a professional setting, and I need compassion in order to try to have other people try to understand me. There's a lot more going on inside my head than I'm able to get out efficiently, which is part of my language processing disability as I present it before I started council to try to get an accommodation. This is part of my human rights claim in that my social expression difficulties were dismissed and not considered as per the rules and procedures put in place as a business. I've gone above and beyond what should be needed to defend myself, given that I've been found innocent and in the right of everything that I've done. And now it's your turn to say specifically what I've done or quit this aggression and come to terms with the fact that I have won and I've done nothing wrong, and that you need to find fault in the other parties involved. I may have hurt some feelings because I didn't agree with somebody else. I may have stood my ground and they lost, but I have no obligation to be agreeable on things that are not logical, ethical, or legal. As an elected official, it's my job to be critical and to question the narrative and represent the community who voted for me. Nothing's really changed from pre-election, getting elected, serving 3 months, and the year in between to cause anybody to have any negative perception change about me, except for the hate site stoking the fire and the resulting $50,000 that was not my decision to spend. The hate towards me and my lovely family is the result of poor judgment and lack of guidance for those involved. If you still have an issue after all the claims that have been found in my favor, the onus is on you to tell me what I've done, and this is yet to be discussed. I don't need to exonerate myself by tolling my virtues in order to find vindication from some mysterious, unnameable fault. I'm writing this to try to prepare for a smooth delivery. I'm pretty capable of speaking from my head, but that's only to people who are compassionate and willing to listen to me. But for those who are unwilling to listen, they tend to be quite offensive and in opposition to my disability of speech. I truly don't have the time to do this, all this preparation in order to express myself properly, in order to explain myself exactly what's been going on here. But any effort that I make to respond to anybody or to do anything extra besides taking care of myself and my family is a gift as a volunteer to the community. Some people ask why I haven't been doing things and what's on my resume that I've done for the community. That's totally unreasonable because, as I've said, I've only been elected for 3 months, and the rest has been a circus of bad decisions and aggressive behavior pointed at me. To even have a negative position towards me shows that you're unaware of any of the facts. I work prime time every day, pretty much, and spend time with my family where I can. I'm sure anybody reasonable could agree that this whole experience, without at the end finding any fault in me, is quite the cross to bear for my community through volunteering. I even got kicked out of the Lions Club due to vaccination status, and I'm still at it. I'm still working towards the same goals as it was in my original platform. A year ago, when Facebook stopped me from responding, I guess there was thousands of messages that were sent back to people who were honestly asking questions, and plenty of those who were simply reaching out to be mean for no other reason except for the stir of the shit pot. I've had people reach out to me and said, I can't support you anymore because I'm being bullied and told to stop by so-and-so and so-and-so. We're not actually saying those names. I figured I'd give a college try and respond to these people. But again, there's no way of reasoning with them, and they have nothing to talk about in particular except for throwing rocks or what psychologists call straw man arguments. Many of the responses I get from people are not really interested in hearing any of the facts or discussing any of the facts. They're more interested around their feelings and obviously the rumors. They think that if they feel a certain way, that is their opinion, but they don't use any facts to form that opinion. It's just feelings and intuition, which are two fine things to listen to by themselves, but you also need to consider logic and compassion, ethics, and so on. Those people can't even state any event or quote any words used by me that were instigated have found negative, or any poor decisions on my behalf. All emails were read, all audio was listened to, nothing was found offensive. While protecting other people's feelings are important to observe, and I try to avoid hurting other people's feelings wherever possible, logic, common sense, courtesy, ethics, and do unto others, as well as law, when we agree upon it, is where we go to use for our guides. And if we agree on this, then we can move forward with this conversation. To listen to some shit posters out there, they're not interested in hearing anything of the story, and they have no depth to their reasoning as to why they feel a certain way. And when asked for the details to back up their aggressive behavior, they can't even say anything. They don't even have any details. They just double down and fight. There must be something that they're trying to hide, or something that they have to prevent me from seeing or doing, to be so much opposition. And it's usually 1 or 2 degrees separated from the people closely involved. Maybe it's that I've got too many great ideas and they don't want to be overshadowed. Maybe I'm getting too close to something. I don't know. But it's totally unreasonable that the way I've been treated and the way that this has unfolded. Any ideas that I have, I want the community to be involved. And it would not be any place from ego, but rather from unity. It doesn't make sense that I moved here with my family and would cause such a fuss, to be so stubborn and as to continue against all the facts, or while being so negative and against so many and so much, for so much adversity. There's got to be more to it. It's just that I'm a true empath, and people with shadows don't appreciate me. And I'm looking to bring unity and community consciousness together. But you can't have unity with people who are aggressive. No sweet, innocent soul can grow up in any community with people not willing to connect to that soul and be respectful and loving to that soul. All 3 of my children are sensitive and kind and need to be worked with kid gloves. I try to interface with the town to help build and contribute and to prepare for the future for my children, but I was turned away like a leper. I was challenged to run for council, to actually contribute instead of having opinion from the outside, and I did, and I won, but I was still treated inhumanely and inconsiderately when I got there. It's not much better now at this particular point in time, because I was told at the last meeting that being aggressive to others is part of the council experience. And I responded basically that that's not how it goes in a workplace, and that it's against workplace harassment policies. There's no other story. That's just the thing. People think that I'm creating a story, but it's all in the evidence and in the documents. There's no other story being told. And my story is true anyway. All the recordings are there for everyone to hear. All the emails are part of the investigation package. All people were interviewed and nothing was found to be offensive. It's not as though there are any backroom conversations. All the audio exists. You can listen for yourself. That's the reason why they don't want council meetings recorded, is because of what happened to me. They were able to railroad me, and they were actually recorded railroading me. And what exactly would happen in an aggressive council when they're aggressive as well as can't be recorded? I think it's rife for problems. And this happens all across Newfoundland, and I'm sure in every small council across Canada. It all boils down to, if you can listen to those audios and you can feel as though that I was treated correctly and fairly while I was mean or incorrect, then you are inconsiderate and a narcissist. And I don't care what you think. Simple as that. You can take your advice and your opinions and peddle it elsewhere. This community, any community, and its citizens cannot function with people like you around. You need the change, or you are the cancer. Your unwillingness to play by any sort of considerate rules has caused this problem. People who know me know that I actually have decision paralysis and care too much about what other people think about my decisions that affect them. And it's contrary to the narrative that's been spread around about me. It's contrary to my experience in corporate Canada. To understand me, you need to listen to my words and consider them as the word suggests. Consider it, accept them, or refute them with your position on the idea. If you're unable to do that, you're talking to the wrong person, and I'm no longer going to be able to spend my time talking to you, nor should anyone else who is also considerate, and letting you feel as though you're better than me with your bad attitude. The owner of the Musgrave Harbour Transparency Hate site is a psychopath that has added a whole different level of manipulation and social engineering to the mix. He is responsible for culminating to violence and assault at the town hall against a visitor, followed by a pompous parade of horns that saw me off from the town hall after I used the town's of Musgrave Harbour's established rules of procedure that contains standing on point of order provision to establish that illegal policies and procedures are in place and that we need to discuss them. This sounds reasonable, doesn't it? There's a rule that we have in our rule book that says we can do this. but others don't want to play along by the established rules. Instead, they blame it on me and claim that I am not playing by the rules. Instead of discuss them, the town is putting it on me, putting me in the position that I'm going to be recording future meetings, for instance, and putting myself in the exact same position as before, where they need to adjourn the meeting because somebody's recording a public meeting and try to get me to leave the room. We all know that that won't be happening, and that the police would have to be called again to clear the room to allow safe passage for me to get back home. Standing on a point of order was obviously something that was added to the rules of procedure and agreed upon by a previous council. It's a commonly used provision in parliamentary procedure, which is the procedure that town councils are supposed to follow. I called up Municipal Affairs, and I tried to talk to them about how to do this properly. They had no advice whatsoever, but they did advise the town how to protect themselves from me, a councillor. This is because the town is the government's best interests, not me, a councillor. There's no support for councillors. Because of this bad advice, lack of good advice, and lack of service-based oversight to the town from any governing body, small town councils, I've been told and have experienced, are often like Three Stooges episodes as it pertains to decisions and interpretations of policies, procedures, and legislation. We are just puppets or ants in the jar even to the government departments. On councils, those with stronger personalities are able to bend the rules in their favor to manipulate the system. If you have an entrenched way of doing things and the system can't be challenged, a lot of shady things can happen that are socially taboo, but there's no one to hold anyone accountable at the town level, which is basically what happened to me. I'm not exaggerating when I say that the towns have no oversight or anyone to answer to except for the voter, general advice from the government, and legislative interpretations or legal advice if they care to go for it. They don't even have any legal advice or professional interpretation unless they pay for it. So basically, the councillors are on their own and the government can't advise them legally. So basically, they're in the dark. My council didn't want to spend the $300 to ask a simple question to a lawyer in the beginning that would have saved us all of this hassle. But they ended up spending $50,000 instead due to ego and not getting anything out of it. They even think that the advice they got from Municipal Affairs, for instance, is sound legal advice. But Municipal Affairs have said on multiple occasions clearly that this is not allowed to be interpreted as legal advice or any sort of advice whatsoever, except for pointing at the legislation for towns' own interpretation. Towns are on their own and they're liable. I noticed that any government body that could be afraid of accountability don't want to answer detailed questions, even basic ones really. They limit communication with any one individual and try to get out of that conversation quickly. They even try to put finalized endings to never talk to you again because there's too many emails being sent, but they're not answering your basic questions to begin with. They teach this evasion tactics to towns, and I've seen it referenced in emails by Municipal Affairs to the town. Advice, nonetheless. I have difficulty getting answers from my municipality because it's a waste of office time, according to an email sent to the Privacy Commissioner and with me copied on it, referring to information that's supposed to be given to me under the Act. I believe that all small towns and municipalities in Newfoundland and Labrador and Canada should have a common human resources firm provided to them to help guide at this legislative level. And this would be in opposed to the government body's oversight, which only have their own interests in mind, and come with a limited resource and low performance expectations and enthusiasm in reference to the government in this case. This is part of the municipal reform that I had on my elective platform before I got elected. And I've strengthened my resolve to do this at a larger level because I'm objecting to bad decisions, standing up for myself and being seen. Some others are objecting to me as an individual. I help negotiate clearly and excessively through all points of this process of mitigation. My right to stand up and be sovereign, independent, be an individual, and to make my own decisions as the head of my own household is being undermined by people with lies and outright bullying, really. If you can't validate why you feel a certain way and you're just aggressive because you feel bad about it, then you lose this conversation. I think the crap out of things, and I have reasons for doing things. If you want to know my side of the story, ask me. Simple as that. If you have no insight on why you're deciding a certain thing, then that's simply not good enough. We've gotten to this point due to bad decisions and lack of insight into why those decisions are made. Your hate is based on false narratives, gossip, misunderstanding, and lack of knowledge in a lot of cases. It's the same as the council. They think that they're getting advice from municipal affairs and they need to follow it. Municipal affairs cares about municipal affairs. They offer no advice to councillors whatsoever in any part of the way. The advice to municipalities is more firm than to councillors. And from talking to other councillors in other municipalities, that seems to be true. We are on our own, but we need to navigate as if we were employed, but no human resources team is around to help us navigate, such as in the larger communities. There are people in my community and beyond who are pissed off, but they're pissed off at the wrong people. This is caused by bad advice and subsequent bad decisions after failure to consult with lawyers or even to follow through with lawyers' advice. This was nothing more than a calculative objection to my being on council and a hope by the other councillors that I not take on the financial obligation or put up with the harassment and hate. It's quite backwards, really. It's like a child violated by an authority figure and their guardian getting mad at them for such a crazy accusation or blaming the victim because of the clothes they wore instead of the problem itself. At the end of the day, the truth is the truth, and I'm going to be standing for the truth. I'm not going to back down. The good people are going to have to stand up and get the 1% shit disturbers under control. When I was bullied as a youngster for being a stutterbox, sensitive, pretty boy gay, and a good singer, most of the adults in the community were the sweetest and most loving, expressive, and concerning bunch. That's because they had common sense. They're the ones who set up the thinking for things like being acceptance and loving everyone. They're the 60s and 70s children. Where have we gone since then? My platform was about love and unity as well and bringing the community together. Many of these loving older adults, I believe, are the individuals who are voted for me, but their voice is not on Facebook as much as the younger crowd, who are the new adults looking for stimulation and trying to get a rise out of people with a poke on Facebook. It's just a joke, man. Can't you take a joke? Yeah, and you go and take my property and you damage it and you freak my children out. No, this is called passive aggressiveness. You need to give it the F up. Simple as that. Jokes are only funny if there is some truth to it. Then there's a lot of other people in this community who also voted for me who are the special type of virtue-holding people as well. Not virtue-singling people that I speak of on occasion in terms of showing off your virtues. I mean truly experiencing and living the virtues as opposed to having a couple pet virtues and deciding to show it off to the world. You need to stand behind your ethics like I have. They have ideals and ways of living that try to be the best that they can while trying to live and understand other people. Some of these people could easily have been tricked by the puppeteer from Alberta who owned that hate site. Many times the people who have good heart want to change the world, have great ideas, and who want to participate. And they are the ones who are also quiet and meek, but the meek will inherit the earth. But it does not mean that you can't stand up and fight. Those are the ones capable of running a community and being discerning about decisions made, because a community raises a child, not so much the parents themselves. And that seed that we plant is nurtured by other people. It's only going to be in one direction if other adults in this community don't smarten up to reality and allow me to be a human so that people can visit our house and play comfortably. Nobody came for Halloween last year, for instance, because the year before that, we had a ton of people. It's obviously because of the events. My 4-year-olds were waiting to see the costumes and were disappointed. My kids are very outgoing and they get snubbed a lot by adults or made uncomfortable when they go out in public. We even have them freaked out recently by some fat man who drives in a black truck, circling the van on foot and looking in the windows at them when parked for gas. I don't know who it is, but this was the words that my kids used. All of this goes deeper than just politics. It's at the community level, and it affects us regardless if we fight or run away. We send our community out into the community daily without any supervision once they get to a certain age, and then other parents technically raise our children on our behalf. This could be problematic when there's a bullying happening to their parents for no real reason. It's hate without a cause. I'm concerned about my 2 boys being chewed up and spit out by some of these aggressive people who approached me, who I once thought were nice and loving. At least I love them. I guess I still do, but it's at a different level now. Some extended relatives have stepped over the deep end, never to be appreciated again. The kids can never be emotionally safe with them again. There's a mysterious and unnameable evil that has been attributed to their father, and I'm not having that bad judgment being put onto my kids from a false narrative and unreasonable person. Whether the parent is holding this false truth in their heart or in their brain, it doesn't really matter, because unless one can actively and openly change. The damage of the web of whisper is what supports that fabric of that relationship. There's been kids saying mean stuff to my daughter in relationship to politics and my journey of objecting to tyranny and the nameless offenses that I'm supposed to have done while clearing my name, and rightfully so. The damage has been done deeply, and it'll be felt for generations. While it will be just a story to others in 10 years, it will be a burden to the children, and likely be heard about from these grown children in 20 years' time. No matter if I run away with my tail between my legs, or if I took this head on and worked it through like I have, the damage has been done. It's better for me to be uncomfortable with the truth than uncomfortable with a lie. Because of the false claims of others, the stubbornness, and the decisions to not back down, contrary to their own lawyers' legal advice, I've been the vehicle of disruption. It's not that I have done anything wrong, but rather that I have insisted that things be done right. We play by the rules, and we just be nice to each other. Simple as that. At least 2 counselors have advised me that yelling and being aggressive is a thing that councils do. It's a workplace, and workplace health and safety, as well as the town, has accepted harassment policies and procedures and workplace health and safety policies that specifically say that this can't happen. One has a right to do the work without being harassed or having aggressive, abusive people prohibiting them from doing their work. The municipality is a corporation that needs to be run in a particular way. That's why these policies and procedures and municipal reform from the government down have been going on for the past years, to put a common framework around how to run municipalities. Like any corporation, it has rules that need to align with federal and provincial legislation, as well as common sense. These decisions are supposed to be for the betterment of the community at the end of the day. Pro bono publico, for the good or welfare of the people. That used to be the slogan for the town of Musgrave Harbour. Unless it's been abolished, it still is. I contend that there's no active plan in the town's configuration for long-term growth or advancement of the community, and I would like to help make this possible. It's like a man planting a tree for future generations to enjoy. This community is not for me, it's for my children. And if I, as a disadvantaged, neurodivergent, and strange individual with autistic, childlike symptoms having to do with social and verbal interactions, cannot be successful to engage with my town, I will need to fix the system for my children, for your children. This is why I have been elected to the platform of municipal reform, of which I plan to not only affect here, but on a provincial and community level. It's much too difficult to get into here today. I have a 20-page document to read, so it looks as though we're only about halfway through. The system is broken, and the community is broken, especially after this COVID crap. So now some of you are looking for something to get angry with, and my family is your target. My 2 children are what some people would say indigo children. They would get eaten up and spit out by the system that's been created and the mentality that's been supported by the community. Look at us all coming together for a common unity. If it was me you want to hate in order to get to that unity, then fine. At least on the other side of this, when you come to terms with the truth and positive thinking, we'll all be unified for a positive matter, and we'll be able to get rid of the people who are negative and who you're blaming me to be. I have blocked people who repetitively cross the line and were unreasonable to the extreme after much exhaustion or frustration with them. To say that my effort is substandard is laughable, looking at the sheer number of hours put into this and I winning every adversity put my way. Who is even to know who will listen to this? It's unreasonable to think that anybody would be wanting to do this unless they're actually interested in figuring out what the truth is. And then those who are haters will go, look at the guy recording an hour video. Who wants to listen to this guy? I feel the same. I shouldn't have to be doing this. And then why would I even have to put effort in doing this? It's a volunteer position after all. I'd rather be recording songs. I've spent hundreds and hundreds of hours fighting for my rights that I could have put into actual council and community work instead of fighting. I came to the town with an idea for a community garden, 100% covered by charity. The United Way actually contacted me after the deadline, wondering where my application was. This was too bright and not understood by the council at the time. And it's just one example of poor decision making and the need for these decisions to be out in the open so that the community knows exactly what's being decided on for them in time for them to make and contribute to those decisions and to be aware of the truth if they object to it or if they have any ideas themselves to contribute. The problem here is that people feel as though they have the right to their feelings and the right to assert those feelings onto others. You have a right not to be hurt. Ethics tells us that we have a duty to be nice to other people if they're not being harmful to us. Common sense tells us that if someone's being harmful or not being logical, that you would either avoid that situation or you would take it head on. That's called fight or flight. I have nowhere to run, so you damn well should have known to begin with that I'm going to fight. In my situation, I've been forced to take it head on. As far as I'm aware and able to isolate as instigating events, I see them as this: submission for the community garden idea to council, being elected and immediately having a union grievance put against me, as well as a human rights investigation. I recorded harassment and intimidation in public meetings. My human rights, as it pertains to my disability and vaccination status, was infringed. I objected to the vaccination policy. I was kicked out of office due to the unwillingness to accept my vaccination status and to give me leave of absence, so the vaccination status had been rescinded. Human Resources investigation says I was not offensive or harassing, but if anything, the others were offensive or harassing. I won back my elected seat with the Supreme Court of Newfoundland and Labrador. I am still pressing for accountability and transparency, which is my initial election platform. I'm working towards fixing the system so that what happened to me doesn't happen to anyone else, both here in this town and across the island and across Canada. Up until this point in writing and preparing for this video, I've taken I think it was a 5-day sabbatical from the nonsense on the town's advocate page and all of my notifications. And keeping in mind that this advocacy site was started before I got elected. The same things that I'm doing now and saying now that are causing problems, such as standing on point of order for illegal policies and procedures, is something that was clearly intended and expected before I got elected. There really should be no surprises, and those who are surprised either didn't vote for me or were swayed by the hate site. Nothing remarkable regarding my behavior has happened since I got elected, except that I've been exonerated on every claim against me. There's not a shred of evidence or any story that can be told to help illustrate how my bad behavior resulted in other people reacting poorly. Rather, the only story that can be told is how other people's poor behavior resulted in my asserting myself while clearly expressing what my intentions are, ways to remedy the situation, and reasons why we were in the situation to begin with. None of this was heeded, and even the human resource investigator, as well as the judge, had noted that I gave plenty of warnings and ways to remedy the problems before it turned bad, and all this fell on deaf ears at the town hall. Every step of the way, it was easy to see that I was being reasonable while other people were being unreasonable. I'm sure most of the listeners out there are cut from the same cloth that I'm cut from, in that they insist on doing things by the book and respectively, except for, variations to the rules, such as maybe doing a little bit of going faster than the speed limit or any other, socially subjective rule breaking. Then everything else is don't hurt people, right? It's my claim that I have insisted that following the rules was done from the beginning, and you have unwittingly been tricked into targeting me by manipulative and harmful individuals. If I can get targeted and attempted to be harmed by these people, then so could my children and your children, and that's why I'm fixing this. Had I not been recording public meetings for transparency and my well-being, it's unknown if any evidence would be easily digested by the townspeople to show that I have been an upstanding citizen. Even with all the evidence that's on the table, it's very hard to chew. It needs to be pureed and spoon-fed to them. See, the thing is, due to my language processing disability, I tend to always think the crap out of things in excess. This makes it so that I tend to have a different understanding, have all the answers, it seems, or a different desire to know something that most people won't anticipate or care to know. Then, when they reply, it tends to be not the answer that I'm looking for, and this either frustrates them a lot of times because I have to rephrase the question, and they have to answer again a second time, and that makes me out to be a very complicated person to begin with. This idea by itself takes into consideration my children, who, as indicated, are very soft and loving and well-intentioned and intelligent. If I'm unable to interface with the body that represents the success of my community, then my community and children will also be unsuccessful. It goes for other individuals with similar positive and well-positioned intentions who are disabled or have special needs when interacting with the town or the management of my children inside and outside of the education institution. Sure, a child must be protected from harm, but who's to say where this protection stops? And the harm itself is coming from the protection itself. My child at age 5 wishes to go to Mario World, where he can jump on mushrooms in real life, as he says. I hope to God he doesn't eat mushrooms. They often take whatever they're watching on TV and play that, adding in real life to the end. They see a cartoon true for it in graphics, made out of graphics, computer graphics, and they want to go build it and go visit it in real life. They don't understand reality. And I'm sure they don't understand it until they get 21. Like a lot of people says, you can't make decisions if you're going to smoke until you're 21 in the States. Your mind doesn't fully form. How things have changed and why children can make decisions at younger ages these days baffles me. As a parent, I have the right to manage the information that my children consumes. I do that at home, and I should be able to extend that into the school and out into my community to a certain extent, especially to the school. Schools are supposed to be there to teach the necessities to function in a career, and we hope to also function within society. And this is overlapping into how things run as a council. You're given rules and regulations, way to react, and you expect your community to act in this way when you're let loose into the community. The school does not sit isolated from the home, but is rather an extension of the home, because we need to have to deal with whatever the children experienced when they returned from the day. And whatever happens to the adults day in and day out in dealing with their institution as a community, whatever happens to those people needs to be dealt with and processed. We don't have time to be deprogramming problems on a daily basis. We need to work together and cooperate. My wife had to explain to teachers that my daughter objecting to playing kick the dog during recess while a teacher looks on is not a very fun game to play and is rather degrading to all of those involved. The idea of helicopter parenting has risen to a place of disdain rather than just keeping an eye on the wards that's been trusted to your care. The idea of letting a child be a child has been perverted by not paying close enough attention to a child's emotional and intellectual needs, molded and strengthened by peers or stewards, losing the same ethics and values and laws and rules and common sense lost in my journey through the council and the municipal elective process. How is it that a person like me can find her way and have been successful after being tortured in their youth by insensitive, unnurtured, ungrounded kids without the same ethics and common sense that are lacking in today's society? No wonder we're having trouble these days. The ones of us who are good and helpful have nothing but the best wishes for those who have intellectual, social, or disadvantaged situations and would like them to be successful, but we're being bamboozled by the people who are hiding behind the narcissistic veil. But there are others out there who, as indicated, would chew up to these nice people and spit them out like they have just tried to do with me. And for me to be told to use the official channels to seek solutions, only to find that the official channels are controlled, limited, and manipulated is very frustrating. And to think that others are expected to use these official channels and likely have a similar experience is unacceptable. I'm taking it upon myself to change the system, but I can only do that with your help and by you also standing up. It's been a lot of effort for me to fight the system, and thankfully I'm no ordinary person. I've been through a lot of adversity, and my family's also been through a lot of adversity. There's a lot of fighters out there doing what I'm doing, and doing a lot more. If anyone can get through this, it will be me and my wife. And we've also been through a lot with our premature children and our own personal experiences. I grew up and physically abused by my peers, and being called a faggot and a stutterer box and dehumanized and degraded, and also being adopted has put a label on my back for abuse. There's a lot that could be discussed, lots of reasons why something could come out of nothing. I can go on for hours on different topics, but the reason why I put today's video together was to answer any outstanding questions regarding Musgrave Harbour Transparency Gossip Hate Site, its owner, and the members of the community who seem entitled to talk to me in negative ways, as if I deserve something, but they are not able to put a name on it. I don't have to vindicate myself more than I have done. I've done nothing, and no one can put a name on it. Again, everything that I've objected to and seen through the legal system in a legitimate way, and I've come out a victor. If you still have a bitter taste in your mouth, it's because you have something to lose in the fight. If you're unable to put a name on it, I'm going to ask you that you step down and stop embarrassing yourself. I'm obviously the better person for not stooping to your level, and I will continue to resist you. I won't be going anywhere anytime soon as per your wishes and desires, because they're not well adjusted to the best interest of the community, but rather come from a very psychological game that you like to play. If you have any common sense and the ability to have any civil conversation, you'd be able to call out the issues, lay them out on the table, discuss them, see who's responsible, and find solutions. If you can't put a name to it, it's a whole bunch of hooey. Not only was this problem brought on by a few number of aggressive people within this community, once things got to a high profile level, an individual who's only been in this community briefly and located 4,000 kilometers away decided to stoke the fire, aggregate concepts and ideas, blatantly lie about them, exaggerate, and manage to go and gather information and find the followers and gather followers. It is this hate site that one single individual is responsible for the past 6 months' worth of stirring the pot. He, as well as the others involved, were also offered an opportunity to talk about things on the air, with or without me, but it was declined. This is because there's no substantiation to their claims against me, and there's no ability for anyone to keep up any sort of argument. It also makes it very difficult for me to make videos about things that I don't really know what the issue really is. That's why the damn thing is so long. That really means that I need to continue moving forward, because if I don't understand what I'm supposed to change and what offenses I've made, then there's no way that I can change. All I hear is a wall of static. Can you please, for the love of God, someone tell me what I've done? You can please some of the people some of the time, but you can't please all the people all the time. I was voted in with 46% of the vote approximately. Some people question that and adjust the maximum number of voters, skewing the percentage, but that's all subjective and is another straw man argument offered by people who have nothing particular to talk about. It still doesn't matter, because that would mean that the percentage would change in relationship to the other percentages and still be the same ratio when considered in with the other votes. Just a bunch of hooey again. This is the kind of conversation arguments that I have with people. For the love of God, give it up. It has no substance. And the people arguing have no ability to have a conversation and keep on topic. We always go off throwing stones. I was told that I wasn't painting picnic tables as one of the reasons why people should be negative towards me. Come on, really? In a time where the world is such a mess and there's such division, this is the time that we need to be close together and try to find solutions together, not fighting for some unknown reason and grasping for reasons to be mad at each other. Anybody fighting like that are shit disturbers, plain and simple, and are the cause of the problems that we're having. They're not solution finders. If somebody could at least call out the reasons why people are being aggressive to me, at least I'll be able to find something I can argue about and make short videos and make quick answers. But no one can do it. No one can quite put their fingers on what exactly the issue is here. We've reached the point in this video where I've prepared my statement and it has come to an end. There's a lot of effort in this, and I'm not a professional copywriter. I'm going to take a look at my Facebook page next while filming and taking a look at the comments, and you'll see a difference between my prepared speech and my live speech. What you'll see is me taking a look at my notifications for the first time in so many days. It's very easy for someone to come back, like often happens, with a whole bunch of different statements that are straw man arguments, as they say, which means that you need to be positive or say yes to these things, or if you're bad with these things and don't meet this argument, so therefore the rest of the argument is also false. You can see how my language is starting to falter a little bit here now. But this will also show you why I need to have a place in council in order for it to have nice and outlooking, nice and positive people to work with. So you'll see. Here we go. Hey there, everyone. So I've switched over to Facebook. We'll take a look at this and see what it has to say. Here we go. Let's go straight to the Community Advocate page and see what we've got to say over here. So let's take a look. We have 47 comments. Let's take a look at all the comments, sort it out as it not happened. So as you know, this was taken next to the vent, the drain right here, over to the side, so you can tell where this is located. It's out in the front of the parking lot, next to the Lions Club. The Lions Club is just approximately right here where my mouse is looking. Let's take a look and see what the comments are. So first it starts off here. We've got some people trying to fight the narrative about how far away the petition. Well, let's talk about what this was. I wondered what the difference was between two councillors organize a protest outside of my home and approaching my property, and a protest resulting in criminal harassment and distributing the peace charges in a similar situation. Both were a protest. Both were near elective politician's residence. The police had to turn away 2 people from my property, and my family and I were home watching through the window. Fury was not in the province. What gives? And what had these people in the town been protesting anyway? I really don't know. So this was step down and stop terrorizing our town. Exactly how? I'm not exactly sure. So this guy doesn't seem to have a problem with my question, but he wants everyone to know that I am close in proximity to the council office, and that and they wanted to point out where I was located and where the town is. And you can note that he decided to put this back far, farther than it actually was, and didn't want to take my advice that it was actually in the Lions Club that was hosting this, and everything was being held in that general area. And he said, therefore, the protest was not held in farmers' property. And other sources said the cops showed up because they were called, but left shortly after. And the protest was peaceful, in no way intimidating, in no way threatening to Mr. Abbott. I'm sure I had it videotaped, and if so, please provide the footage of the 2 people approaching your property and being turned back by the cops. So, again, there was no real answer in terms of how this was different, how there was, why there was a protest happening, why was it different, why there was a problem, why did anyone think this was fine when when my kids were watching through the window and actually were threatened for some unknown reason, have this experience outside my window, when no one can really tell me what exactly I did anyway. So, I basically responded here. If you ever took a picture of the big moon and see a small one, you'd know that this is pretty close. And also, like I said, one councillor and a relative had approached my property for a photo opportunity, and the police had to stop them. I have a police statement regarding the approach of my property. The police were called by me in preparation for the protest, and they stayed a while until they stayed away until people approached, and then they sat in the driveway in their car, and they stayed until it was all over and everyone was cleared. And I wanted to ask them, what can you tell me the protest was about? Because again, what exactly is going on here? Now, this guy's been on me for a while. He's quite sharp with what he has to say. He's a well-positioned, educated bachelor arts kind of guy. And he's got away with words, and he's able to fight. He's been doing a good job. But so I wanted to ask him, he still hasn't been able to tell me what I've done. So I wanted to ask him, most importantly, what have you invested in this fight against me? And for what reason do you support a protest and have to clear up details about it and justify why it's not a big deal? Because really the question here is, my kids were watching through the window. Fury was not in the province. What's the difference? Why can someone be charged in the other situation and not charged in my situation? And, to me, it all seems the same, because there was no grounds for this. At least someone can claim that there is the grounds for protest, for Fury. And that's the thing that these people here who protested claimed was a reason why they could protest, is because they have a right to protest. And they do. People do have a right to protest. And, so it's my statement that yes, all of these people could and should protest, and it's my right to ask, what exactly are you protesting about? And then ask, what's the difference in this situation? That's really the point. But the bigger issue is that this situation just keeps going, and it never ends. People don't seem to have any compassion for what exactly is happening here. See, from my calculation, from the corner, maybe give or take another 5 or 10 feet, the front of my driveway is there, and so. He said, I see maybe 1 or 2 people standing in front of the Lions Club. So he's got a vested interest, right? And he's judging by the photo and making conclusions, but not actually looking at what exactly does people have the right to treat me in a certain way? I've done nothing wrong. Why exactly am I a villain? And why can't the things that are happening to me just not happen to begin with? Exactly, right? People just walk into the car, right? They park in larger groups of people in the rear entrance of the council. I agree, it's close to your residence. No mean right side of your residence, as you indicate in initial quotes. Actually, they're on council property. So they're trying to vindicate, that they're why the situation is as it is. It says you're exactly right that the facts are greatly influenced and exaggerated. There's been so much manipulation in regards to the whole situation of social media, blown in proportion. 1 foot turns into 10 feet, 10 feet turns 100 feet, and so on. And by no means was protest directed at your children. I'm certain that at no point protests were intention to hurt your children. However, if you haven't figured out what you're protesting by now, then you never will. And I don't. And he doesn't. He can't say. He's saying that things have been talked about on social media. What exactly has been talked on social media? Is he talking about the hate site? Most likely. Because no one had actually said anything to me. Nobody involved in the situation can say anything. Nothing's getting boiled down. Everybody should know the story by now. So I asked him, it sounds like you're getting caught up in the schematics here, rather the semantics here, and not really answering the simple questions I ask. You're right that no one will ever know because no one can ever say. And I will expand the questions and the statements for your convenience. No one was by the council office itself. Everyone was near the road, near the Lions Club, and in the Lions Club itself. The Lions Club hosted the event and opened its doors, and people were going freely in and out both doors. The police had to turn a councillor and a relative of such councillor away from my private property and felt it was necessary to intercept them and talk to them and then park in my driveway to prevent the further approaching. What was the protest about? Why was it necessary in the first place? How does this differ from any other protests? What makes one protest over the other a criminal offense? And then here we go. Aha! There we go. We've got some guy named Granny Hines. Let's take a quick look at this. It's quite funny. So he's got this face thing here. He's called Granny Hines. No posts, no content. First participated on the 15th, which is the date that it first happened. Got 75 points somehow. I'm not sure why, but the person that appears to stoke the fire says, "That is lies. I attended that protest. Brandon knew about the police officer very well. He actually did a construction job at her home, and a couple of months prior, he walked up to the car and asked a question, and he said, 'Flick on your lights, will you, love, for a joke?' And she did. Stop telling bullshit. It's enough. Leave people's family alone, for fuck's sakes. Nobody tried to go on your property. They left seconds after what you claim happened because it was a peaceful protest. The cops think you're a moron like everyone else in this community, and you've tortured the people to no end, and that's why everyone hates you. Fuck, get a life." So there you go. So again, no one else can say exactly what I've done or what this is all about. So I figured at this point, I need to call out the owner of the hate site. I actually contacted his employer and provided all the evidence to them, and they decided that the evidence was enough to tell Franco Cuzzola that he should quit being an arsehole and to stop chasing me around the internet. I actually have a considerable amount of evidence, more so than I've demonstrated, but some of it, his name is actually on it, and he's saying, mean, fighting things for some reason. But the funny thing is that he's my sister's boyfriend. We've noticed that he intercepts my sister's email messages on Facebook, not email, sorry. The Facebook messages. Everybody in the family, my wife and my daughter, as well as myself, have observed that he has a copy of Facebook on his phone for my sister, and is basically intercepting Facebook messages and checking everything as a aggressive person, abusive person would do. So I decided that at this point enough was enough. We've got this person that has no identity and is claiming that they know something, and is just basically stoking the fire, the same as they did before with the hate site. So I decided to call them out. Granny Hines, that's not what the police said, Franco. Your employer said for you to stop this. And then we had somebody ask me if I had a video that would help the situation. And I said, in greatest respect, having to prove myself with no actual claims against me for wrongdoing is the wrong way around. Somebody needs to tell me what I've done to deserve anything negative. And still, nobody can tell me what I've done. It's interesting. And I think that's in response to some other things. It's just out of line. But it says, "You've been told many a time, but chose not to listen." I don't know. I don't think I have. No one can. Can someone tell me where I've been told and when I've been told not to listen? Thanks for your time. Sorry, I can't waste any more of mine. Imagine the amount of time that I've wasted. That's crazy. So I said to him, "No, the evidence suggests that that's incorrect. I'd like you to point out exactly what that might be." So he says, "You suck me in again, and I'll put it this way. You are fighting a fight for you, not for the community. I've driven around the town and witnessed other councillors helping you with actual issues, from helping fix a sewage lift pump, cleaning the snow off the community rink, repairing, painting the park picnic tables, cleaning out the beach, preparing the upcoming Scuff and Scoff festivals. The list goes on. And I've seen, all I've seen for you is hours behind the computer screen posting postless memes towards the people of Musgrave Harbour. If you spent a number of, even a small percentage of that time doing something useful, positive for the community, then you would have made a big positive impact in the town and its people. Right now, you do not have the respect of the people. Only you can change that. So, the question I have is, how can I change that if I wasn't able to participate in the beginning? That's really the big question. And if I only was in office for 3 months and and my family was bullied, and we had court dealings, and we had peace bonds against people, and we had aggression, people saying things to me. How can we do that? It's impossible, especially when the hate existed. This was creative. And but I said to him, Shane, I was elected for 3 months and kicked out. I also had a bullet through my window, a peace bond against somebody for a threat to my physical safety, property damage, and people hating me for the lies that have been told. What do you think I should be doing? Meanwhile, I'm working prime time most every day, and I've asked you what I've done to deserve negativity, but you don't know. It's like he thinks that me not doing things deserves me being picked on. Me deserves negativity on me. It just doesn't work. It doesn't make sense. I say to him, you're on the bandwagon and making general comments and assumption. And then Granny Hines Franco gets on and says, who was the cop? Do you know her name? And I say, I know you're Franco, and that you ran the Musgrave Harbour Hate site, and you still attend at council meetings under the name Scored Websites. I'm sure we've noticed them. And then he continues on. He goes, I'd love to see a police report or video evidence or anything other than what I saw happened, or I said happened, and as did many people who actually were there and saw exactly what happened. You're fabricating a story, looking for pity like usual, and to make the people of this community look like monsters. We're all family-oriented people and love one another, and we are not what you say and try to make us out to be. Just stop, for the love of God. Let it move on with your life. You have a beautiful family, and go and enjoy them and leave each other's family alone. Stop. But the question here again is, how can I stop? And who is this guy? And what things did I do? How did I make someone like a monster? Where did I go wrong? Why can't it be that people were doing things against me and didn't decide to take terms with this, or come to terms with this and take care of people like a professional? So I say to him, thanks, Franco, and I post this picture. So then we've got my sister who decides to respond and says, what the fuck? More than likely, this is Franco just posting as well, because I contacted my sister regarding the first thing that was posted to the Musgrave Harbour Transparency Hate gossip site, and she denied seeing it. It's likely because it was deleted, and she said she was sick for the days preceding that particular message. So that fact backs up that story backs up the fact that she is either oblivious to the fact or is in control by this psychopath that you see her on my screen. I've bit my tongue for far too long with your bullshit. You've dragged Franco and I through the fucking mud, and we live here in Alberta, for God's sake. Stop it. Constantly blaming these social media pages on my boyfriend, your own fucking family. You only give a shit about yourself. Fuck you. God, I feel so bad for that poor town. And just to take a look here, Bonnell Mullen and Grenfell Roberts thinks that it's a good statement here. The big question is, why would this guy decide to chase me around the internet, make comments about me and say things about me, and think that I'm open target for comments and for abuse? Yes, you are family, and that's why I'm concerned for you. Because if he's able to say and do things openly for entertainment from Alberta and control the whole fucking town, as Liza would say, then there's a problem here, and that's not even me, or that's not even me that is trying to explain here. And I don't think that she's actually saying this, because if she's bit her tongue for way too long, she should have stood up for her brother a long time ago and basically said, "What the hell is this all about?" But people are too afraid to do so because they're being bullied when they try to stand up. Then Granny Hines, who doesn't have an identity, says, I don't even know who Franco is, and I live in this community. There's a picture of a girl there, so they're claiming to be a girl. I live in this community, and you've blocked everybody who doesn't agree with you. And I said, Granny Hines, sure. Who are you? For the other councillor hiding behind a fake name, who also can't say what I've done? And then I decided to post this. I think this is when Liza responded, because again, this is not in particular order. So I post his LinkedIn thing, because basically I want him to stop. That was the threat. I told him to give it up, and he decided to keep it up. So he decides, whatever, Grant, get over yourself. You cannot control people's every thought and move. So basically, as far as I'm concerned, and anybody who's intelligent can read that, basically he's agreeing here. Yeah, I'm me. This is me. This is where I read it anyway. You cannot control people's every thought and move, because why don't the person just identify themselves? How the hell can you not see why people are drove with your antics? You're constantly perpetrating, dementing lies about people for fun online. See, he's seeing himself and in me. He thinks I'm doing it for fun, where he's controlling the town for fun. No matter how long you keep this up or how ruthless you are, guess what? We're going to still live our best lives like we've always done. You're only hurting yourself and your own family. So he's making it out to be as if I'm doing this for fun, when in fact people are trying to manipulate me and hurt me. So I say to him, thanks for the hate, Franco. And go cry wolf now and call the cops. Peace out. So, this is the kind of people that I have to deal with. And then Liza says, how would Franco know about any of this, you idiot? Clearly the person lives there, attended the protests, and knows about some construction job and speaks like a newfie. Yeah, I'm sure that says a lot, doesn't it? That's just crazy to even consider that this is evidence. And this is the kind of people that we're dealing with. People who don't have any logic and just think that statements like this make sense. Basically, she's referencing the original message, which basically has a little bit of newfie in there, and says that they claim that they attended the protest. Well, I've got claims I make too. Where's the truth on that? Then I decide I'm going to post exactly what the initial problem that was posted to the hate site was. I say here, what exactly is Franco trying to prove? So they decide to wipe this out. Does he think that I'm a TV character who needs his opposition? Does he not realize that he's publicly offending his blank brother with uninformed comments? And you can see here closely, it says girlfriends. You can see that got the part scratched out. Friends, uninformed comments. Does he have any control over himself? Does he have any control over you? Please tell him to stop. It's very immature, concerning, controlling, and oppressive. And this goes off into me deciding to post the other stuff. So if you take a look at this, you can see that this is a Musgrave Harbour gossip site. Thank you for the YouTube shout out, says the gossip site. And this is posted by Scords on the MH Gossip Facebook page. So just looking at that piece tells you a little bit of evidence. And then you take a look at this one. This is yet another platform that he commented on with the same username. He's got Scords. Listen here. If anyone's interested in the town's opinion, the MH Gossip is a great source. And there's the site. And again, the name is Scords. And then here we have Scords on his Twitter account. His name is Scords. He changed it. And they've got Guinness, which is Liza's cat, and her apartment. And this is his new profile picture right here. And then you can see a picture of my sister ready for tonight's game. You'd have to be pretty oblivious to not see what's going on here. You take a look at Franco's Twitter profile, and the picture is Liza, my sister. And you see, look here, this is them going fishing. And he used Scords for the username and comments on the YouTube video that he made later on. He ran the hate site and had everyone in this town as puppets, stoking the fire and promoting the hate. When I first asked you about this, I said to Liza, she said that she was sick and had no idea what I was talking about. I have no doubt that Franco is writing this for you right now. We noticed that he screens all your Facebook messages when he was home. And then I noticed here, you can take a look at this. You can say the Scords has blocked me. So we can't take a look at his site because we're blocked for some reason. It's because we're after him. He knows that we know the truth. Take a look at all the visitors on some of the meetings that we're having. You see that Scored Websites is one of the attendees, and he likes fishing for some reason. And he goes, "Where's Franco's name?" Oh, come on. And she says it twice. And I say, this is called the balance of probabilities. It's a legal thing. Where's my fault to deserve the wrath? And it says here, I was sick. Haha. Wow. I said it before and I said it again. It's not him. So she's saying here that she was not sick. or that's what the haha wow suggests anyway. I could go take a look at her messages and show you how she said she was sick, and I may do it, but these damn things are long. But, it's just crazy how I need to continue to fight myself and even have to fight against my sister. But all this stuff takes time, doesn't it? Then she goes, tell me, does it sound like Franco? Does it? And I go, his employer thought it legal enough to warn him, but he's back. And then I actually pull up a thing here that actually has Franco's name on it. So if you zoom in here, it says here, Franco, truth hurts. And he posted on one of the YouTube sites that I have. And Franco Cuzzola posted here, he should be apologizing to his kids. He has, whatever, I'm not going to look at that right now. It's not really important. But he's chasing me around the internet and making comments for no good reason. I think I'm down below here now. And then he got another one here. He goes, he should be apologizing to his kids. He's put himself into so much debt for basically a volunteer position that he's getting reelected for. All this for his ego and 15 minutes of fame. Laugh out loud. Priorities. And this is Franco. So to say that he's not chasing around the internet and not posting after he's making comments is laughable. Why even do this if you're not looking to fight and if you don't want to have accountability? So I say to Liza, yes, it's Franco. Either run as fast as you can from him or reel him in. And then he goes, again, it's obvious from this granny person lives there. Read the info, read the language, clearly lives there. And that's hilariously funny. I'm going to go ahead and post something as we wait. And I'm going to take care of these messages. I've been waiting to post something and I didn't do it. And I'm going to try to do it quickly.
It's like Randy always says, when blaming your failure on something else, always point to it with...
Anyway, it wasn't as bad as it seemed, but it's ridiculous how things have come to this, that a relationship and a family has been broken apart because of the manipulation of an individual who wants to fight, basically. And who has no consideration for a person as a human. I hope that this is obvious to those who care to know, even though it's been going on for over an hour. I'm not going to be standing down anytime soon, so I hope that you guys will be there to back me up on the other side of this. Take care of yourselves. God bless.